without further ado, let's bring on board Rachel Brooke Smith and Emilio Andres.
Woo! What's up, guys? Welcome to the Unfiltered experience for the second time. Ooh.
Thank you.
Buenos, mi amigos.
Yeah, happy to be here, guys.
How are you beautiful people doing tonight?
So wonderful. Just enjoying, living, loving, mattering, just enjoying this life, man.
Yeah. How are you guys handling all the negativity in the world? Do you see negativity or do you see positivity?
That's a great question.
I have one of those every once in a while.
Ooh.
I'm like, do you want to start or do you want me to start? Because that's a big question.
It's a loaded question.
I figure me and Scott were talking about it. We'll just jump right into it.
I have a very different answer now than I think I would have in previous chapters of life. But rather than seeing positive and negative, I look more of like, what if there is no good or bad? Thinking makes it so. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, everything has different charges to it. And, like you were talking about, is it a problem or is it an opportunity? But I think leaning into everything is just like, we're here to learn. So what's the lesson?
And also,
that felt good. We are here to learn. I love it. Everyone's coming like everything has to be perfect. No, you're here to learn.
And I think there's, we see what we are. And I think every person, place, or thing that is happening, like we are a part of that, right? We're a part of this organism that is humanity. And I think like everything that's happening, we've either done that, are doing it, potentially will do, or done it in a past life. Like I think it's we're just seeing different parts of ourselves. And I think just as we in our individual journey have an awakening and then start to seek, and then in a reflection, and you go through this letting go, and you have this whole like hero's journey experience. I think humanity is having it's just the hero journey experience. So humanity's facing kind of what you were talking about, Scott, like they could be facing some kind of just anything, any kind of life event or what have you. It's going through that experience, and it's not good or bad. It's a challenge that it's needing to then wake up. And I think it's not like it's all rainbows and butterflies. They're going through some challenge, through some things, but inevitably to get past that journey and know that we are all connected in one and here for each other.
So
you guys are so awesome.
I love it. So you just segued perfectly into the question of the hour and what we've been asking everyone, the big I am statement. So one of the things I've been asking all my coaching clients is we have a process by which we create our I am list, and they're usually pretty extensive. And then I ask them to narrow it down to 3. And I haven't asked any of our other guests this yet, but I'm going to ask you guys to do it because I like to throw little curveballs. And when I ask them to do it down to 3, I ask them something different. Most people register their I am statements from present moment. So they'll say things like, I am a loving father, I am an attentive dad, things that are present moment. I would love to hear your I am statements and put you on the spot from a place of, could that I am statement be true pre-conception? Could that be true of Emilio or Rachel at age 2? Could that be at age 12, age 25, age 50, posthumously? And so I'll give you my 3 while you're processing thought and coming up with yours. My 3 that I break down that would be at any time is, I am divine, I am creator, I am enough.
I love that.
That's great.
Beautiful.
And so what are yours? Do you want me to do like a little ticking sound? Like
I got mine.
Yeah.
What the hell is keep happening?
Are we good?
Yeah, we're just juggling around. It's like Hollywood Squares or something. We're moving around.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what it is? It's the amazing energy that we're plugging into the universe.
It's the electricity.
The universe can't even handle us right now. I think there's a song about that.
Yeah. Scott's about to sing it in 5 minutes.
I love it.
Let's do it.
Karaoke time.
No, these are actually 3 I say every day. I am love. I create. I am divine. Love. I create. I am divinity. It actually is more accurate, but yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sold.
My recent ones have been, and it's kind of on our subtitle there, is I am love, I am peaceful, I am playful. And I think those come from me just because I didn't get to play a lot growing up, going in the environment that I was growing up in. And for so long, I wanted to be at peace with a lot of things going on. And I think the divine and God or source of the universe is love. And so I think the number one, if I had to just choose one out of those three, it's just always I am love.
When you guys, and I love that.
I subscribe to that one too, but it's all over the place.
You gotta go love now. I mean, when you guys think about the journey that's brought you to this point to have those I am statements, talk to us about one of the, maybe the tougher times in life where it really questioned your I am statement at that particular point. Cause obviously we are more egoic as we are younger. I am a model. I am a father. Like Scott was saying, all the different pronouns and everything else. Talk to us about that point in your life where you were at a down moment and you started to realize it's not about the egoic stuff as far as my identity goes. It's really about the moments and the experiences that I have that I create proactively within myself first, and then with the people that I enjoy my company with. Talk to us about that journey.
Yeah.
I love that.
Who wants to go first?
Gosh, I have two different really powerful ones coming up. I think, as an actress and a model, and growing up an athlete, I think one of my biggest journeys has been through body image and really identifying, especially because I grew up a gymnast and because I was very athletic and because of the training I did, I just always kind of had this six pack. And I think especially as an actress, and I would do photo shoots and promotion shoots for film and stuff like that, I kind of got known as the girl with the six pack. And part of that was awesome. Part of that was also like not awesome at all.
A lot of pressure.
So much pressure to maintain that, keep that. Also learning, when you get attention for something, you start being like, oh, this is what people want. This is what people like me for. And then you start, showing that a lot. But then you kind of get pigeonholed and you realize that you're like, wow, I'm so much more than this, but this is what I'm talking about, like always. And what I feel like I have to keep talking about because that's what I get attention for. And, definitely, so going through a lot of that, and it was a journey, and I feel like I'm really, I think a long time I really battled a really unhealthy relationship with my body, which I think I needed to go through because now coming out on the other side, I have this unbelievable deep appreciation for my physical body. It's like oh my gosh, we have the most amazing pieces of technology ever. And we just live in it. And I think oftentimes we don't know that, or we forget that, or we haven't come to find out that truth. And I hope to empower so many more people, especially women out there, because I think a lot of women especially struggle with this.
Yep.
Is learning how to have that, not this deep appreciation for all that your body does for you, not necessarily what it looks like, but when you have that deep appreciation for what it does for you, you honor it in a very different way that leads to so much more like real health, not just like short term. I'm young, I might look good for a little while, but like lasting longevity kind of health and peace and love.
Love that answer. Thank you, Brooke.
Yeah. For me, so for me, 8 years ago, I hit rock bottom and was on a 2-year journey to kind of pivoting personally, professionally, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, just everything in my life. I had lost everything in my life, and it was one of the most beautiful experiences that I'm super grateful for, right? Because at the time, everything was falling apart, but I didn't realize at the time, of course, that it was, falling in place for me.
Yeah.
And, prior to that, I was in 10 plus years in oil and gas, finance, accounting, ERP implementations, and helping companies around the world do this stuff. Like at that time, like you said, the ego, I thought I was the shit back then. I was making a lot of money and traveling around and had the quote unquote hot girlfriend and was, but at the same time I was drinking a lot and doing some drugs here and there and just was living a devitalized, ego-centered life in so many different ways. And at the time, like you said, I thought I was the car I drove, the house I had, the clothing, my reputation. Like this is me. And what I realized when I kind of woke up to this, when everything was quote unquote falling apart, it was in 2014. I was in Houston, Texas, and everything was falling apart. And I remember there was this one moment. It all came up to this one moment where I remember asking myself, like, I forgot who said it. It might have been Sam Harris, and it was like, we're constantly talking to ourselves throughout the entire day, right? We're getting these stories constantly. We live in our heads. And I remember he said a simple statement. It was like, who's talking to who? And I was like, it kind of hit me in that moment, in that like turmoil and chaos I was going through. Because I'm like, who is this person, A, talking to B inside my head?
Exactly.
And I was like, whoa, okay, there was like this person observing me doing the things. And then then I was like, so then I, of course, went into like the seeking and inner reflection and letting go and the whole hero's journey. But it was like the awakening that took place that then led me to deeper inner work, right? And long story short, I often talk about lose your Superman to find your Wonder Woman, or peace, love, joy, experience. And so I always thought that the Superman I was already.
Yeah.
I had all these things. People saw me on the outside as Superman, just to make a funny word here, right? And so through that letting go and hitting rock bottom and losing everything, it's this whole unbecoming process. So I started to realize the walls I had up and the characters I was playing throughout my life and the masks that I wore to keep me safe from all those times I, had some traumatic experiences. And when I went on the deep journey to remove those masks and those characters, like the peacemaker or the savior or the facilitator, just, all these different things, as I started to remove all that, then there was like this nothingness space, which is the everythingness space, where I then started to find out that I am love, that I am this organism that we call humanity, and like finally felt connected to everyone. And so I think that was somewhat of a process to finding out that I am that and not this superficial crap.
Yeah.
I love that. So here's the funny thing too, because we are integrated into this vehicle that we need to love and honor regardless of where we're at in this present moment with it. Because, Stephen Hawking might be this brilliant brain, but had a body that many would say is less than, right? And then super athletes might have this body that everybody say is everything, and maybe they're less than in the body. So what can we tell people right now? Because this is my guess, and I've seen this, and I'm going to give you an example of when this happened to me. Somebody might be looking at you guys and saying, I'm so far from you guys, it's easy to love your body. You don't understand me. Because I made a really stupid comment a few months back, because I really believe this. A friend of mine who might be 5 feet tall tops, I'm like, being tall doesn't matter. And he goes, shut the fuck up. And I remember going like, no, but and then I'm like, I'm speaking from a place of not comprehending. I'm 6'4". And so I was thinking in my head, I don't judge you in height, maybe because I don't have to think about that because it's not in my space.
Great point.
So, whether it's racism or sexism or whatever ism, I'm speaking from a place of my own understanding. So let's try to, tell the audience right now, because I think it's very important to understand that dichotomy that you just said is, I know I am love. I am an eternal spirit. I know we're all interconnected. How do I fall in love with that voice who's the real me, so I can empower me to do the best with this vehicle I'm in the present moment and maximize it, so I can really enjoy the moments, find my brilliance, and share those with this world, because it is not easy. I can speak that from regardless of my body, but how do we get people to fall in love with themselves regardless of where they're at in this present moment? Because some people feel really far away from where they want to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one, it's letting go that it's going to happen like that, because I think it's a journey. You've spent years. I think many times we're trying to implement something new in our life. It's realizing how long you've spent practicing something else. Most of the time, if I spent most of my childhood, young adult life hating on myself, criticizing myself, judging myself, picking myself apart, like it felt never could be good enough. And when I like finally kind of started getting into this whole world of, oh wait, I have to love myself, and what does that look like? And I'm supposed to like not be hard on myself, and like what does that look like? Or all these different things. I got even more mad at myself because I couldn't do it fast enough, and then it was like this downward spiral. And so I always try to help remind people that, like, how long have you spent practicing the other thing? And if it's been 20, 30, 40, 50 years of doing so, giving yourself a shit ton of compassion on this like new way of behaving. And I think radical acceptance is something I wish more people talked about. And really is that kind of I think all of us have a very conditional love with a lot of things. Even a lot of people have a very conditional relationship with God. It's like, if I perform, if I do this, then you'll love me. That's conditional.
Right.
Yes.
Even on a religious or spiritual level, we've been taught this kind of very conditional love. So I think this concept of what does it really look like to unconditionally love someone or something or ourselves is challenging. But unconditional means like there's no conditions.
Mm-hmm.
You are just loved. But you don't have to do anything. You're loved. Yeah. And really diving deep into it's deep inner work. Like it's deep inner work, and it's not going to be a quick fix that you take. Of course, there are different things that you can look into that I think will expedite the journey. But there's different paths up the mountain, and it's just deciding what kind of journey do you want. For some people, they're like, yeah, I want to do maybe plant medicine and try to expedite something, or I want to take the longer route because I want to go slower. And I think it's learning like what is best for you. And I think we're all so unique. We're all so unique, and there's no one size fits all. There's no one thing for everybody. It's really, you're the creator. It's up to us to decide how you're going to create your journey, your path. And to not compare. That's the hardest thing I think that all of us fall into is this comparison trap of like, oh, well, their love story looks like this, so my love story should look like that, or their health journey look like that, so should mine, or their whatever. And it's like, no, like, I think when we let go of all this, like, one size fits all thing that a lot of us have been programmed with, and really honor each other's unique journeys, and really decide for ourselves, like, what I am the creator of this experience, like, what do I want my life to look like? And make up the rules, like, make it up for yourself. And rewrite all the things that aren't serving you anymore. Because there's a lot of deep-rooted stories and belief systems that are deep. They don't even know that you have, that are running our lives. And so, yeah, I think it's rewriting those.
Yeah,
I love it.
And then, for me, so much coming up, right? When people look at us and they see us where we're at now and everything, and don't see kind of everything that we've gone through, It's like, no, man, like I grew up in domestic violence, was poor, which created a lot of different things in my upbringing to led me to believe that I wasn't good enough. I don't have enough. Sometimes maybe I'm better than mentalities, which just, I was super shy and just didn't think I could ever achieve anything, and would just do my best to, become, I just wanted to like showcase that I can do it. But it was always coming from a place of I'm not good enough. So like when I achieved all these things in oil and gas and finance and everything, it was a very just not healthy way of doing it, because it was driven from I'm not good enough and having all these things. And so I wasn't living a peaceful, joyful, because I was just thinking about what everyone else is thinking. I was like, well, what about me? And I think all the work is just coming back to you again and who you are. I think we're all just walking each other home. I really wish that everyone is just looking at every interaction as, a key to unlocking the things that they need to unlock. And, when I think people, humanity, including myself, all of us, there's two activities in life. There's the internal world and there's the external world. And most people are focused on building the external world. Yeah. And they're just doing that. And even right now, people are listening to this podcast and they're working out or they're walking, and then they got to do something right after that. And they got to jump in a meeting or take care of their kids. And you're going through this loop of just like the things to do, and it's all the external world stuff. And I'm preaching also to myself like this because I get challenged with just being still, and building the internal world. And I hope that people don't wait for a life event to then look within. That we can be proactive about looking within and being still, because you are divine. You have the answers. You don't always have to look externally for all this stuff. Everything you need and have is just within you. If we decide to be still and to practice that stillness, like every time you will know who you are, you will find the answers. If you rep that muscle, just like you rep everything in the external world, what kind of things are you repping in your internal world? And I'll just end with, to wrap that up, is like the Lao Tzu quote that's coming to my mind, right? Like to practice the repping of, there's a Lao Tzu quote that says, watch your thoughts, they'll become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. Watch your character becomes your destiny. So you are what your thoughts are, because that's where it starts. And so how can we rep being, like Rachel said, kind to ourselves when we don't have the right thoughts, because that's a lot of time what's happening, and to just be loving on it. Oh, it's okay. Just throw that thought away and keep going.
I love that, guys. And thank you for sharing that with us, because it's so spot on. It was something that I was just talking to somebody recently about the other day about, they're talking about their energy in the world and just feeling, that lack of worthiness, like you were talking about, Emilio. So many people, when I've talked to them over the period of COVID, when I was giving out these coaching sessions, it was pretty incredible. I started hearing this whisper saying, ask these people, do they love themselves? Yes or no? And in my market, you're talking about that conversation in your brain, right? Which Michael Singer, Untethered Soul and Surrender Experiment, those two books are phenomenal for what we're talking about right here, guys. Because I didn't understand it. This shit, I was like, what do you mean talking to myself? What? But that explains a lot of it. But anyways, thinking about how it is that we have those internal dialogues with ourselves about our worth, and thinking about that, a lot of what I see holds people back is that they don't love themselves, and then it's conditional, right? It's like, oh, if I get this job, then I'm worthy, or if I have this relationship, then I'm worthy. If I have these cars, then I'm worthy of this status or whatever else. But one of the things that we fail to really look at and address, and we bury down deep inside, is the fact that the resentment and the anger and the hostility either towards ourselves or towards other people in our past for how we are today, they take that victim role. Talk to us about the power of empathy and forgiveness in your growth, your individual growth, of where you were talking about those low points, right? And now talking about these beautiful places where you're at now. Talk to us about that empathy and forgiveness part, because that's one of the keys that I'm finding when people can break through that stuff. It's like a miracle drug. They're like, oh, Chris, I just had a friend of mine go through it the other day. He's like, Chris, I see my whole childhood completely different now.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's so powerful.
Beautiful question.
We have a whole comedy sketch that we do called Triggers or Gifts that really showcases that in a funny way, about how anytime you feel triggered, underneath that is this beautiful gift just wrapped in really ugly wrapping paper. And you have to do the deep inner work of like unwrapping the ugly wrapping paper to find that incredible gift that does allow this freedom and love and bliss and deeper connection with yourself and other people that maybe we haven't even experienced before. And so with that question of the power of empathy and forgiveness, I mean, it just comes, that quote comes to mind of, holding grudges or not forgiving people is like drinking poison and expecting the other person, wanting the other person to die. And ultimately, I think also another thing that I often visualize in my head is that I've created a prison for myself to live in, and only I have the key to unlock it.
Yep.
And sometimes it's just like, I think it's giving yourself, in my journey, it's been learning how to give myself compassion. Like when I'm in a state where I'm super angry or frustrated at something or someone, like learning how to welcome all emotion, because emotions are just indicators or just data. And they're like, hey, red flag, something, pay attention. Just like we have in our car, there's an oil light that goes off. It's like, hey, put oil in the car. If we don't have those, if we don't appreciate them, then all of a sudden, the car stops working or it blows up or whatever, so we get super grateful for those indicators. Learning how to like really feel all of it. Like if I'm angry or sad, like welcome it and try to be as sad as I possibly can, or be as angry in that moment as I possibly can. Just to like really feel it all.
Yeah.
And in that, it dissipates. And so giving myself space and time and compassion to feel my emotion, all of it, like really powerfully as much as I possibly can. And then feeling that kind of energy dissipate, and then being able to, from that place, I have a lot more ability to turn the key, if you will, and let myself out of that prison I created for myself.
Yeah, understand.
But I think oftentimes, we're trying so quickly to forgive or to let go without actually energetically, biochemically releasing those things. And I think the more I've learned to give myself that space and time, also communicate to my partner that, hey, I need some space and time to go like walk or do something or run or hit a bag or something to release some stuff before we come back. to the conversation, then most oftentimes I'm like, man, I'm sorry, I totally messed up, or man, like or he does that, or somehow, some way, it's just so much easier to shift. So
yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Let me ask one thing before you go, Emilio, because I have a feeling right now, I'm trying to like predict what some people are thinking as they're listening. And I know a lot of the people that I coach, and I know you guys are in the same spot, is a big question that comes up is, but every time I get angry, my significant other blank. So we've bottled up, and we have, all this anger sitting right here that we compartmentalize because we're not allowed to be angry, because in one of their relationships, maybe a parent was always angry. When they say angry, they feel like they're not safe.
Yeah.
So real quick, and I think this is important before you go, is there any suggestive tool or anything you can do beyond just saying, hey, I need to process this? Is there anything you can do to create maybe a safe space, and maybe something you can give, the audience that they can put out there to say, I need to process all these emotions to be the best version of me, to be the best person to you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, a few things come up, and we can kind of piggyback back and forth. There's a simple tool it's a three-step process that'll then funnel into how you can do this within yourself, but then how that translates with a partner, a friend, or an intimate relationship. I think the first step immediately is to smile. So the reason we want to smile is it's very quick and easy to do. Something can happen on the car, on a phone call, in the workplace, at your home, whatever. Something like, we want to find something very simple to do, right? And it's a smile. But why are we smiling? Not only because it's simple and fast, but because it's showing loving kindness for yourself. Most people, when they make a mistake or are feeling crappy or feeling anger or what have you, they're in the journey process. You're going to go through, I don't want to say mistakes, just learnings, right? And I think it's good to have loving kindness for yourself, so that you don't beat yourself up, because that's the worst thing you can do. Second thing is to say, there's me doing it again, whatever it is that you were doing. And that's just repping the observer, so that you can put a spotlight on what it was that you were doing. Not the other person or anything else. Like, my wife or girlfriend in the past could have said something very toxic to me, like, whoa, but it's my job of how I react to that. Mm-hmm. And if I react and spew poison right back, then that was me. I can only control what I can do. So if I'm doing that and I'm angry, it's like, okay, well, what was I doing? So just being like, oh, there's me getting angry again, or there's me, whatever. And it's not a judgmental way. It's just providing the data first, like, oh, there's me being angry again. Okay. Or there's me reacting again, or there's me spewing poison, or there's me, whatever. And it's only just to be in observer mode. And then the third thing would be to, like Rachel was talking about, welcome the emotions, whether that's right there on the spot or finding a place to saying, anger, I'm glad you're here. Like, most people want to, the shadow side of us that we want to hide, suppress, deny, distract, Netflix and chill, and run away from that emotion. But it's just data. It's just energy. It doesn't have a good or bad. Like, right. Anger is there for a reason. And so it's like, hey, anger, like, change your relationship with your emotion. Like, oh, I'm glad you're here. Come on inside. Let me make you a cup of coffee. Like, just like, hey, come on in. And when you say, I'm glad you're here, the funny part is that once you welcome anger, he doesn't want to be there anymore. You're like, nah. Like, when you hide, suppress, and deny these things, anger will get bigger, faster, stronger. Yes. And when you just say, hey, I'm glad you're here, and really start to feel like, oh, and you may be getting really angry, that to, like Rachel said, feel it. Because when you really start to feel it, then it's just energy. It'll rise, and you release it. And because the deeper in work is, again, standing up, facing it, and rising above it. Mm-hmm. And you have to face yourself. You have to face these things. There's no way other around it. It's called a breakthrough for a reason. You got to break through that. But once you feel it and continue to feel it and rep that muscle gets bigger, and then you start to really release it. And you're like, oh, wow, I'm so powerful now. Look what I did. I am so confident now. I can do these things. Now, that's just a quick, simple step. Smile. There's me doing it again. And welcome the emotion. Now, maybe we can kind of play into like together what we do.
Well, I would really, I love what you brought up, Scott, and this is very resonant even in my story of when I feel anger. Like, if he gets angry and I can sense heated emotion, I like, and this is common just in a lot of women, even if you study Alison Armstrong's work, loud loud sounds and angry sounds, a lot of times women have a tendency to shut down.
Yep.
Because we're
Shut
scared
down
that
and
they're
coil.
mad at us, and then they're not going to protect us from the tiger. This goes back to, like, you know, evolutionary, what she calls cave woman days.
Yeah.
But for most women, we're a smaller species, like regardless of whatever, we just have less muscle mass than men do. And evolutionarily, we're thinking that, like, if this guy's mad at me, he's not going to protect me from the tiger. So I feel scared because I don't feel protected now. So I'm going to shut down. And so one is understanding the difference of men and women and how emotions play into it from an evolutionary standpoint is very empowering. Two, it's communicating to your partner. I've communicated many times because Emilio here is very, like, passionate and very, like, sometimes that passion I can misunderstand for anger or if he, and sometimes he needs to get angry. He needs to feel those things. And so I think it's communicating beforehand and setting ourselves up to win before heated moments come, right? It's like you get prepared for a tornado. If you don't get prepared, then it's going to be a lot harder. So how can you prepare as a team, as partners of any kind, whether it's family, intimate relationships? How can you prepare ahead of time of understanding things about each other? What happens when the other person gets sad? What happens when the other person gets angry?
Yes.
And how can you communicate ahead of time? We even have a lot of, like, code words in our relationship, and teaching different code words that can define a whole hour worth of conversation in one word. So both people understand what's happening, what's going on. I think.
Can you give us an example of those words? Because I think that's fascinating, right? That's perfect.
Applejacks. It could be whatever word. It doesn't matter. But, like,
I mean,
I say shit like that all the time.
But they're also words that, like, probably we only know, right? They're like the inside joke. And the Applejacks is normally when we're doing auditions and having to be vulnerable with each other on set or in an audition together.
Yes.
Where it's like we're coaching each other, trying to make each other better, but sometimes there's like triggers can come up.
Yes.
When we say Applejacks, Applejack's word to us, that inside word, means a whole conversation that we had of, like,
Gotcha.
So then we're like, oh, this is the moment. We're catching ourselves. Okay, I know what you're doing, and I know how I should be, and we want to grow together.
Love that. That is bravo.
And
that's powerful.
And I think because we can go really deep here, and we normally do in different workshops and whatnot. But, like, I think the underlying theme that really helps relationships, whether you want to process anger, since we're on that topic, is we have a big theme in Relationship Renegades, which is to always know how to create a space where you and your partner feel safe, seen, heard, and loved. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, that is fertile soil for both relationships to grow no matter what. I may want to say something or show her how to do something or whatever, or vice versa. But if she's feeling anger, I'm going to do no matter, or if she wants to express something to me or talk to me, my only goal is to, like, okay, this is happening now. Immediately, the first thing is, how do I create a safe space where she feels safe, seen, heard, and loved? There's something going on with Rachel. If she gets triggered, she knows it's the woman in the mirror. If I get triggered, I know it's the man in the mirror. And that's a whole deeper conversation. But what I can do is, okay, she's feeling something. How do I make her feel safe, seen, heard, and loved? No matter what. I don't want to get in my ego. It's just, how can I do that? And that foundational pillar, that fertile soil, allows her to feel safe, to express the anger, whatever. Because if she's feeling something, I'm like, I don't want to take that away from her. She needs to feel that anger. If she's saying something to me, I'm just like, I have compassion, because I'm like, she must be going through something right now that she's feeling all this stuff. Babe, get it, feel it. Inside, I'm saying that. I'm like, she got to do that. And I think she will feel that energy within me, which breaks down her walls to be able to communicate more to me. And then all of a sudden, we get to come together and realize something individually or collectively. And then we skyrocket that growth together. But I digress. I mean, I just wanted to bring that theme in.
Love that.
No, what you just said literally is something. If everyone wants to take one beautiful takeaway from this discussion, there's been many. That is massive right now, because I was reading, some of the old books that a lot of people used to read, like Wild at Heart, and it's about that a man has to kind of run. You want to have that. You want to be understood, and we want to be seen. We want to be heard. And there's a new book out, and I don't have it in front of me. I don't know how new it is. It's relatively new to me, but it's talking about the most amazing things that you can do for somebody else, especially, from a woman to a man standpoint relationship, is offer them some respect and safety. And we have all this illusion that men want to be tough and this and that, but we want respect and safety, and so do the woman. Yeah. And so right now, as we're waking up going, I have a lot of emotion I haven't processed. I can't think of a better piece of advice than to give that person an opportunity to start processing that as a normal part of their future existence. Because now we can start to dissipate all that just emotion that's ready to explode in all of us. Why people are committing suicide, there's domestic violence, people are losing their minds. If we could just start to kind of go and just deflate that, and it all starts with what you guys just said. So thank you so much. That is freaking beautiful information. I love it.
I really want to add something to that I think is so important, is that it's easy to do, to create a space where people feel safe, seen, heard, and loved when you're not triggered. When you get triggered, and if both people are triggered, I think it's super important to have some sort of plan or understanding of how you're going to handle those moments. Because in those moments, it's really hard to do that. And
yes.
And I think it is a muscle to rep if you can tell that, like, oh, both people are really triggered here, to be able to say in that moment of heat and intensity and adrenaline that's pumping through your body, to say, like, okay, I can tell we're both really heated right now, reminding you with physical touch and like eye contact, like, I love you, and communicating whatever it is you might need in that space and time of, like, a lot of times I'm like, I love you, but I need to go on a walk right now. Like, I need to go on a run to process. I need to get some of this adrenaline that's pumping through my body out.
I'm just laughing because you're marrying me and Kim right now. And you guys know us. Like, you have no idea the verbiage, the way you're speaking. This is us, where she goes, okay, I'm going to go for a walk right now because I'm sensing that you might be very triggered. I'm like, I'm not triggered. And she's like, I will be going out the door at this time. And I'm like, I'm leaving. I'm going out the back door. Wait a minute. Maybe. Okay, maybe I'm triggered. But I want this to be funny, because here's the reality.
Yeah.
We're beautiful, eternal spirits in these human bodies.
Yeah.
We've compartmentalized all this stuff. While we're healing and loving our body, part of loving our body is releasing these emotions. And here's the truth. We come together sometimes, as partners for a lot of the right reasons, but a lot of times those triggers get really comfortable where? At home, those who are closest to you. So the dual triggering, in a time where we both want to have a good conversation, we're both like, you're the problem, you're the problem, you're the problem, shit, we're both the problem. It's going to happen. And I think the more we laugh at it and start throwing out words like Applejacks at the right time, to laugh at our own silliness. And it's not even bad or good or anything. It's silliness that, listen, a trigger is here. You guys know this. The root problem could be even preconception. We don't even know where that came from.
Yeah.
But the reality is, until we start to get deep and look at that trigger, like you said, Rachel, that triggers the opportunity for gift. When I can find where the pain point is, and then we can nurture that pain together and heal that together.
Mm-hmm.
That is some powerful stuff in relationships.
Yeah. And another thing, just adding on to what Rachel said, one of the things we both kind of do when we're heated like that is, like, Rachel will say that, or I'll say something. We had this heated thing in Utah a few months ago, and like right when we were in it, either she'll say something or I say something. I remember at the time I was saying something like, just like, hey, real quick, I was like, I'm just glad this is happening, because we know when these things happen, it's either an opportunity to, like, deeply connect or blow out. Yeah. And we know if we choose ultimately what we both want individually and collectively is to deeper connect for all the reasons. It's like we lean into that resistance, we lean into that pain, we lean into that trigger, because we know that there's gold, there's gift at the end of it if we're open to unraveling that. And it's like so when it was happening, we're heated. I'm like, okay, we're having that. It's like, by the way, like, this is it's an indicator for growth.
Yeah.
And so if we realize that it's an indicator for growth, then it's like, okay, well, there's something here. We got to, like you just said, we got to figure it out. And I really want to, like, deepen this, because we believe in universal laws. Like, there's universal law of gravity.
True.
There's a universal law of resonance. And to really paint this picture, maybe, like, deepen it for people listening. And I won't tell the whole thing, but just very quickly, triggers are gifts for a reason. It's another opportunity, because, like, when you get triggered, there's a resonance inside of you. Mm-hmm. There's something happening, like, oh, right? And it's very much like a tuning fork. For everyone listening, if you guys have played with tuning forks, or look up tuning forks if you haven't. If I have tuning forks ABC in front of me, and if there's tuning forks ABC in the other room in the house, if I strike tuning fork A, automatically tuning fork A in the other room starts to vibrate. Mm-hmm. No one touched it. Nothing happened. It's just, this is resonating a certain frequency. And because that's resonating, the other one just starts to resonate automatically. Yeah. Now, why do I bring that up? Let's just make this super simple and real. Like, let's say I don't feel good enough. Let's call that tuning fork A. Let's say Rachel also doesn't feel good enough because of whatever happened in the past. So she has tuning fork A, I'm not good enough. I have tuning fork A, I'm not good enough. And that's a big universal theme right now in humanity. And so let's say Rachel does something that makes me feel I'm not good enough. Then that's like striking, it's like she stroked her tuning fork A. And because I have that, all of a sudden I may react to that. That's a tuning fork vibrating. Say something, do something, whatever. And because she still has it, it resonates her. And then there's like more and more fire and more and more like fire on fire on fire. Whereas the work is basically removing that tuning fork. And the beautiful piece of this is that you can remove that tuning fork. That's called the healing process. To if she said the same thing again, if I feel good enough, I've removed that tuning fork. Then if she says something to me, I'm like, it doesn't trigger. It doesn't vibrate anymore because I feel good enough now. Yeah. And I may have that person being like, oh, wow, this person must be hurt because hurt people hurt people. Yeah. And then maybe have compassion and empathy and forgiveness and all these other things. Yeah. And then it allows us to rise up together. But anyway, I wanted to provide another analogy to showcase why is it that happens? Well, it's because it's an opportunity to see what tuning fork you have and how can we remove it together.
And to make it a game. So this is a big thing that we love sharing is like making it a game. And the game is whoever owns their shit first wins.
I am playful.
Wins.
Yeah.
And, you know, oftentimes like that one time when he said in that we were having this very heated moment, it was very challenging, very hard. He drops in the heat of the moment and is like, babe, I know this sucks right now, but I'm really grateful for it because I know that we're growing and I'm going to fall in love with you even more after we're done. And it automatically like dissipated everything. And I was like, oh, I just fell in love with you all over again. And he won the game. And then we both win, right? Because ultimately it's tricking the ego because the ego wants to win. So if you both have this, like play a game with each other and have that game of like whoever does it first wins. Yeah. And then we do get to basically fall in love with each other all over again.
Yeah. I'll say like, oh, babe, you know what, 5 minutes ago or an hour ago, like I think whether she realized it or not, I'm like, oh, I was being passive aggressive there. And I think I was doing this. And, you know, sometimes I'll know why I did it. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know why I did that. Maybe I'll try to figure it out. Maybe I want help. Maybe I don't want help. But yeah, I think repping the muscle of owning your shit, repping the muscle of just being vulnerable. Yeah. If you want a deeper connection and rise up together, it's like, just trick the ego, like Rachel said. It becomes a fun game.
No, you know what you guys should do? You guys should put like on events. Like you should be, I was sitting there thinking like my wife and I would get so much value out of this conversation. Do you guys ever do any events?
Yeah, a lot. We have relationship playground events.
What kind of events do you guys have? And could you tell us more?
Yeah, well, we have our signature relationship playground event that we do kind of all over as we travel
around the world.
But we have an upcoming really cool event in Costa Rica that's our Relationship Renegade retreat event, where it's going to be amazing. It's like 5 days in Costa Rica with us and other like-minded, awesome, you know, what we call Relationship Renegades out there. So if anybody wants to come, all you have to do is just go to our website, relationshiprenegade's.com, and you find out all the information. But please come; it would be so much fun.
Yeah, it's going to be. It's going to be a time to, you know, heal, deeply connect, adventure, play. Obviously grow, reset, rejuvenate, all the good stuff. It's for singles and couples because not only couples that want to elevate their relationship, but, you know, we found out in our clients that a lot of singles that we've been helping, because this is a proactive approach to peaceful, playful, fully alive relationships, that when singles, sometimes they've never seen what a healthy, conscious relationship is. They haven't seen like, you know, seeing what, how do we say it? Like
seeing love lived.
Yeah.
Is one of the most important things to empower, like couples who are in this space where they are wanting to be proactive and they want to learn, they want to grow together, they want to elevate together. When single people who are still looking to attract their partner, oftentimes one of the biggest challenges they face is to continue to believe that it's possible, that person that they want is out there and that they don't, you know, have to settle for something less. Yeah. And when we've noticed that because oftentimes it's been a big challenge for us of like, you know, do we focus on just relationships or just single people? And what we found is that we need each other. Single people need to be around healthy relationships and see it, because oftentimes we just haven't even seen it. We don't know what's possible. When they see it, they believe that it's possible. And then vice versa, it allows people that are in partnership that have found, you know, the person, and now they're just in a space where we want to elevate, we want to grow together, we want to continue to nurture this, because we know if we don't nurture it, then it's not growing and then it's dying. They also get to remember what it was like to be single. And they get to more deeply appreciate what they have, because oftentimes we forget. Yeah. And so I think both, it's really important to be around both.
I love it. And by the way, that retreat is it's in Costa Rica, September 22nd through the 26th. You know, if you want us to send you that, you can just, you know, look on our website, or you can just DM us on social media, retreat. We can send you some details. Yes. And whether it's the retreat or events that we do all over the world, since we're digital nomads. But then if people want to start off just digitally, you know, we have higher love online programs to really, we talked about a lot of great stuff today, but like if you want to know like the details and what the work actually entails to become those things and to feel peaceful, playful, and fully alive, then we have some online programs for you to kick off if that's kind of more your jam at the moment. So,
and what's the website again for the people who listen to this in podcast form and not videocast?
So it's just relationshiprenegades.com.
Yeah, you can find everything there.
And all this stuff's in there. I can go to Costa Rica. I can get coached. I can see funny videos. All of it?
Yes, all of it's there. And we wanted to offer everyone that's listening a special discount on the Higher Love online program. Oh, yeah. So they just use IAM20. You get 20% off.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you guys. You guys are absolutely amazing. We love and appreciate you guys. Everybody who's listening, connect with them, follow them on social media. They're beautiful people, just like they are here on the conversation right now. You see them in social media. They're vulnerable. They're powerful. They're funny. They're all sorts of different things. We love and appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys for being here. We're going to put you backstage for a second and end out the show, but don't go anywhere.
We love you guys.
Love you.
Bye. We'll see you in a minute.